Thank you, Trump. You can now come and check out the monuments, get something to eat, and check out the sights in Washington, D.C. and not get robbed, carjacked, or killed by somebody who looks like me.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's your man Wise. Got a couple clips to share with you guys. We got to talk about it, man, because if you allow the liberal or mainstream media, or these hippies that don't actually live in the DC area that are actually protesting, if you listen to their rhetoric, they would lead you to believe that, hey, the residents don't want this, DC safe, crime is down from last year, although we found out that they've been juking the stats. We're going to get into it, man. Like, share, subscribe, turn the notifications on all so you never miss an upload. Watch the video all the way through and let me know you did so in the comment section. Let's get into it.
President Trump understands that in D.C., it is the minority community that is suffering. Just the other day, I said, give me a picture of all of the teens, everyone 19 and under, who were killed by gunfire. Okay, and in 2024, there were 29 of them, all teens killed by gunfire. 2025, so far, there are 19, all teens killed by gunfire. Every one of them African American, every one of them minority community. And I'm going to stun you. 70% of these homicides of 45 young minority kids in the last year and 7 months have not been solved. The ones who shot and killed them and took their lives from them are still walking the streets. We haven't arrested them. We haven't taken the guns from them. And that's what the president understands. And that's my mission.
That's sad, man. That is sad. Children's life cut short. And 45% of these homicides are unsolved, which means there are people still walking the streets, have committed these atrocities. And there's no telling how many others they have committed. But yet you got people out there protesting. See, that's what I'm saying, man. A lot of these liberals, black and white, they don't actually care about these communities. They actually care about pushing their agenda. That's what they care. That's what they care about, man. Because if they actually cared, about black people in America, they'd be okay with this situation. Matter of fact, if they actually cared about black people, they would actually stop with the soft on crime bills that are in these liberal-led cities, stop with the no cash bail, so forth and so on, if they actually care. But they don't. They don't care. And they're okay with the people taking care of each other. They're okay with that. As long as you keep it isolated in those communities, they're okay with it. The crazy thing is in DC, it's such a small place that it's basically bled out into the entire city. And something's got to shake, man. Something has to be done. And to be honest with you, there's a plethora of cities out there that could utilize or use this same type of enforcement to get the crime rates down, man. Somebody's got to do something. Something has to give, man. It's crazy out here in a lot of these places, man. And to be honest with you, if you're one of those people that live in these cities or live in these communities, it's true. It's true. And if you're one of those people that actually grew up in one of those communities, but decided as soon as you got a little bit of bread, you left and you don't really go back like that, it's true as well.
The heart of Washington, D.C., I'm hitting the streets to talk directly to the people who actually live here, the ones who deal with the city's crime and chaos every single day. Do you feel like President Trump's initiative to send in more police could be helpful for D.C. residents that don't live in safe areas?
Yes, I do. And I'm very appreciative of what Trump is doing. And I think everything that he's doing is helping D.C. as well as America.
At this point in my life, I think I'd rather move to another state.
How come?
Well, I've been shot 4 times, attacked so many times, I'm tired of it.
You were shot 4 times?
Shot 4 times in my life, yeah.
So it was four separate times?
Since I moved to D.C.
Since you moved to D.C., you were shot 4 times?
Yeah.
Residents expressed frustration with wealthy liberals, progressive protesters, and Democrat politicians that continue to say that Washington, D.C. is safe.
They don't have to deal with the crime in the other areas. They have better stores, better protection, police protection. This area right here, around here by Hacker Jamal, I wouldn't want my grandchildren to walk around here. They live in this area, not far.
So what's your message to President Trump if he sees this?
I love you and keep up the good work, and thank you for all of what you're doing. God bless you.
I just want the police to do what they can for our country, for our city of DC. So none of us young people don't have to live out the rest of our lives robbing and killing or God knows what, or end up in jail, dead, or drunk, or becoming a drunk at the liquor store or loitering.
The youth in DC need more governing. They need more policing, more programs. Put programs back in place.
Y'all keep talking about the youth. Where they going at? They don't got no rec centers. They don't got no playgrounds. They don't got nothing. They don't even got boxing teams no more, or football
I know,
teams.
they got, boxing is the answer. I used to be a boxer. I was a 2-time Golden Gloves champion. They don't have a boxing gym here? Are you kidding me?
No, I'm saying they got them, but it's not like it was when we was coming up.
Wait, when they had mentors.
Yeah, they don't have nothing out here for youth, period.
I did recently hear about the woman.
He is absolutely right. And that seems like it's a running theme throughout a lot of these inner cities that are led by Democrats. I mean, even out here, in the Baltimore side of things, there's no Boys and Girls Club. There's no YMCAs. They do have some rec football teams. Those do exist, but majority of them are in the counties opposed to the city. So a lot of the times, everybody is like, man, these youngins, they're wild, but they really don't have any way to harness that energy. There's no mentorship programs. There's none of that. And I agree. Something's got to give. It can't just be 100% policing, but the city, the mayors, they got to get involved and figure out how can we get these youngins off the streets. We got to get some mentorship programs. We got to get, some sports league programs. We got to get some after school care or after school help, for these kids, because a lot of these kids in these cities, they're not reading on grade level. They're not doing math on grade level. And what we do know is that if these kids cannot read and write on grade level, or if they don't graduate high school, the likelihood of them finding themselves in a prison or a casket early it's very high. So something's got to give, man.
And been thrown in the trash can down the street like a few months ago, and that was very concerning, especially because her age, she was a little bit older.
I got God. I got Jesus. He's my protector.
Do you think women are safe, single women?
Yes, if they have Jesus, that's all they need. Jesus is the way.
Well, get a lot of people off the streets, yeah, that'd be a good idea. There's a homeless problem, yeah.
We have to be protected. Other countries are protected. Why we can't be protected? And the cities, people has gone crazy. Just let a man take over. Let Trump take over.
Okay,
yes.
So you're for federalizing DC because you think that it will help the people here be more safe?
Yes, 100%.
The residents are saying we want this. Outsiders are saying everything's okay in DC. But the residents that live in these communities are saying, hey, we need the help. There was 4 infants gunned down just over a month ago in DC. Young people. This is crazy. This shit should not be happening. These are the types of things that happen in third world countries, not first world cities in America. Not the capital of the country, out of all places. But the reality of it is there's a running theme here. When you look at Memphis and Chicago and Oakland and LA, New Orleans, Baltimore, certain parts of New York City, there's a running theme. Everywhere these liberals rule, they're some of the most dangerous places in the country, man. They're some of the most dangerous places in the country per capita. It's wild.
This is a 1-year-old, so we need something to be done about that.
To make the streets safer?
Exactly.
You support the president?
Yeah, I support him, but I just need him to do more. Like, if he's going to be there and support us and make sure the streets are safe and stuff like that, I don't have no problem with that. But at the end of the day, I just want to make sure that everybody is safe. Nobody should be worried about their living situation, them being safe in the streets and stuff like that. I understand there's crimes out here in the street. We don't have no control over that if we living in this residence and we got to go in and out of our house and stuff like that. We don't have control over the violence in the street. We don't.
You're sick and tired of it.
I'm really sick and tired of it. I'm really sick and tired of it. And that's from me living in D.C.
Yeah. Yeah. This is real, man. It's real. Now, I know you got a lot of, your black, Democrat shills out there saying, oh, man, this is over policing, you know what I'm saying, of a black city. He's only going after the cities that are being ran, by black people. But when you look at the cities that have the highest homicide rates, they just so happen to be ran by Democrats, and it just so happens to be ran by a multitude, of black Democrat mayors and city council members. When you look at DC, Mayor Bowser she's a black woman. You look at the city council, I almost believe that majority of the DC city council are black folks. You look at the same thing out in Oakland, same thing down in Memphis, same thing down in New Orleans. I feel like I'm, beating a dead horse here. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, what do you want? Do you want them to just, hey, back out of it? Y'all aren't going to do anything and just let things stay exactly the way they are? Where the good people that live in these communities, because the reality of it is everybody that lives in these communities aren't criminals. They're not bad people. There's a small subset of people, but they hold the good people hostage in these communities all across the country. Somebody needs to do something to make it safe for people just like this woman that was previous, this previous clip here. They got to do something, man. And the fact that you have these people out here trying to say that, it's not as bad, as they're making it out. Trump doesn't have to do this. There's an investigation going on right now about the people in charge, the crime statistic out in DC, juking the stats. And I would assume that this is something that is happening all across the country, man.
Welcome back. Breaking news. Fox News has confirmed the Justice Department is now investigating whether crime data in Washington, D.C. was manipulated to make it look lower. David Spunts at the DOJ this afternoon. David, what can you tell us about the investigation?
Well, hi, Jillian. Two sources briefed on the probe tell us that, yes, the Justice Department is investigating whether or not someone or multiple people may have manipulated crime data when it comes to Washington, D.C. crime statistics. This investigation is being run out of U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro's office here in D.C. Also, Maine DOJ, where I'm sitting now and speaking to you, also has a hand in this probe. Again, these are just allegations. President Trump mentioned something about it yesterday on Truth Social and said that there is an investigation underway. Then we were able to confirm that as well from two independent sources. I will note, if you go on the D.C. website, Jillian, it says violent crime is down 26% from what it was last year. But we asked, after seeing a report from a local affiliate here in Washington, D.C., that a police sergeant was put on leave. We asked, MPD said that they could not confirm the existence of an investigation, but not many other details other than to say right now there.
Yeah, so they're investigating, and typically when there's smoke, there is fire. So I would assume that it's going to come out that these people have been cooking the books or juking the stats, however you want to look at it.
So can you confirm for us that there have been police officers and detectives and members of law enforcement in D.C. who on the scene of crimes have been told, yeah, don't write that one down, or don't add that to the list, or put that down as a more minor offense?
Absolutely. That's one of the chief complaints of our members when we go around and talk to them, is that they respond to the scenes of these violent crimes, and inevitably you'll have a captain or a commander or sometimes a lieutenant show up on the scene and advise them to take a report for a lesser offense. One of the things that we see them do often is sometimes there'll be a shooting or a stabbing, and if the victim is uncooperative with the police, which is not uncommon in some areas of the city, they'll be directed to take an injured person to the hospital report, which is not even a crime at all. It's an incident report. Sometimes you'll have a robbery. It'll be reported as a theft. Other times you'll have burglaries that are reported as unlawful entry or thefts. This is something that's been, unfortunately, part and parcel of the police department for some time, and we're very skeptical that these crime stats are accurate.
That's extraordinary. What is the motivation? Why are these commanders or higher-ups arriving on the scene during apprehensions and telling police officers to indicate something other than what actually happened at the scene?
Well, the only explanation could be to keep the crime stats down because politically that's expedient for the police department and elected officials in the district. I mean, let's go back to how we got here, which is that in 2020, the D.C. City Council passed the Comprehensive Policing and Justice Reform Act, which was a sweeping piece of legislation designed to hamstring police officers, to reduce the size, scope, and responsibilities of police officers. In addition, it also prevented us from holding criminals accountable even when they're convicted of crimes. And so now here we are 5 years later, the police department with an authorized strength of 4,000 sworn members, we only have 3,180, leaving us with over 800 vacancies for the position of police officer. In order to make up for that gap, the police department uses 2 million hours of mandatory overtime to cover the demand for police officers. And so because of that, crime has skyrocketed in the district. And one of the things that we think is going on in the police department, which who knows how high up that those directives are coming from, is to make sure that these crime stats are reported in the most favorable way possible.
This is something that doesn't come from just the police chief. This comes from the mayor down. This is something that you're going to get from the mayor. This is what you're going to get from city council. This is because this is all about CYA covering their own behinds. That's what this is about, man. Because, hey, it makes sense when you're up, in an election to show that crime is down. And, in election season, when you can go out and say, hey, look at what we did for the city. Crime's down, although the people are suffering, but they will come out and say, hey, the stats say this, even though there has been a mandate from the top. We got to say that the mandate has come from the mayor. The mandate has come from the mayor that, hey, we got to make sure that y'all do whatever you have to do to make sure that these stats are down, not just baseline status quo. No, the numbers got to come down. So whatever you got to do. So that conversation is probably had between the mayor, and the police commissioner or the police chief or chief of police. And then ish rolls downhill from there. And that's why you have supervisors that hadn't been called, but they're at every daggone major catastrophic event that happens or crime that happens. That's why you have, all the different, district commanders and things of that nature showing up when normally they wouldn't show up unless it was just something crazy. This is a mandate straight from the top. You guys know it, man.
I'm happy for the residents of DC because for the first time in ever, there's not really any overt crime happening in DC. For the first time, there's not a bunch of murders. For the first time, there's not a bunch of gang violence. For the first time in many, many decades, these people can actually go outside and they don't have to climb over homeless people. They don't have to hold their kids' hand and tell them to step around the piss that the homeless leave on the side of the road. That there aren't a bunch of people outside in the middle of the street drinking with their 40s and like that. That there aren't a bunch of shell casings little kids have to walk over. Yes, finally, the ordinary residents of DC, the ordinary, people like you and me, our community, can actually get a break. These children can actually go outside. They're not going to get shot. They're not going to end up dead or on t-shirts. For the first time, their parents can take their hand and walk them to the park and not have to explicitly worry about them being shot up on the block. Yes, I'm happy that DC is being taken over. I'm happy the FBI, I'm happy the people of DC get a chance to breathe. They get a chance to go outside. These kids get a chance to walk to the park without dying. That's what you're missing. The people that live in these specific streets, these specific blocks, these specific areas are happy that they don't have to deal with the riffraff anymore, are happy they don't have to deal with the piece of people that would rather shoot up their own community than do something better with their life. This is the first.
She's absolutely right. She's absolutely right. I got one more clip I want to share with you guys, man. It's kind of heartbreaking, but it just shows you, just showcases the type of tragedy that has been happening, in DC. There's a mother, her son was gunned down about 2 years ago. And, it's just really unfortunate.
Knows how very real it is. Tempe Satcher's son, Bernard, BJ, Hodges was shot and killed in our nation's capital back in 2023, and she joins us now. Ma'am, thank you very much for being with us. I'm so sorry for your loss. But this is something you've personally experienced, and we've, in our reporting in recent days, have talked to other people that are deeply frustrated by the way they've had no other choice but to live in Washington. Your thoughts on what's happening in D.C. right now and the federal government, the administration's efforts to rein in the very real challenges regarding crime there in Washington?
Yes, well, thank you for having me today. You know, this is an experience that I don't wish on no one. You know, I grew up and born and raised all my life in Washington, D.C., so crime has always been a problem all through my school years, and now raising my children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. It's very frightening to know when they leave the home. You know, I pray so hard every day that once they step out away from home that they're covered. And that particular day on August 5th, 2023, Bernard had just left my home because he was going to work. He had on his uniform, and he worked at MGM. He asked me to watch his 2 children overnight, and I was more than eager to watch them. So moments after he left my house, I really beat myself up so much, because that particular day I say I didn't pray for him, but I know God is able and that he's always, and you know, he has the last say. But Bernard was gunned down at least, I think, about an hour, no more than an hour after just leaving my home. I just couldn't believe it, and my heart just, you know, been hurting so bad ever since. So the things that I see that's going on around the city now with the National Guards and all the things that are helping out MPD, I'm, you know, right now it seems to be pretty intimidating, but when you are being approached or you don't have the knowledge of, you know, what's going on, it can be very intimidating. But for so far, so I see that it is making a change, is making a difference. So it remains to be seen how much great comes out of this situation.
Condolences to this man, to this woman. You know, I can't even fathom losing a child, having to bury, you know, one of my children. I can't even fathom that. Rest in peace, young Bernard, man. You know, he leaves 2 children, you know, his family behind, and, you know, it's just senseless, man. And there's too many stories like this that not only happens in DC, but a lot of places around the country, man. And, you know, I'm glad that the president has decided to be proactive opposed to reactive, and trying to do something to make the people in these cities, especially at least in DC right now, safer. But I want to hear from you guys in the comment section. Like, share, subscribe, turn the notifications on to all so you never miss an upload. Consider joining the ARP family or buy your brother a coffee. Link in the description box below. As always, man, I appreciate the love, support. Thank you guys so much for supporting this channel, supporting what we're doing over here, man. Keep God first. Stay prayed up. We'll catch up with you all next time. Peace.
Vibes so